Hello, I'm Linda Bond. Welcome to Love You Longmont. This is going to be a fun day. You may notice that we have 9 extra faces here on our set, and that's because we have the artist Kathy Hall with us, and she's brought some of the friends that she creates. Now, Kathy, let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
Have you always been an artist?
I've always enjoyed art, but there's been long periods of time in my life where I didn't really have much time for it. But yes, starting with my first grade teacher who really encouraged me a lot, let me stay after school to paint on the easels, and that encouragement
I think we forget how important it is to give people a little encouragement. You're remembering your first grade teacher, and it led to all of this.
It certainly helped.
I think that's wonderful. Now, I'll bet you've always been an artist who's very outgoing and loves showing your art.
Not at all. Not at all. I was very shy about it, particularly when I got to making these kinds of things, because they're a little strange looking. Some people have told me they're scary.
Really?
So no, I was very reluctant and very shy to show them for a while.
Now, where are you from originally?
Jacksonville, Illinois.
And how long have you been in Longmont?
About 2.5 years now.
And you jumped right into the art scene.
I did. I did. I showed up at Arts Longmont and said, I'm here, and I like to volunteer.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They put me to work.
I understand this has been your year of saying yes. What does that mean?
It just means that I am claiming who I am. This is what I do, and it's who I am, and I love it. I like new opportunities and chances for growth and change, and saying yes is allowing me to do that.
So what sorts of things might you say yes to before we ask you something?
Well, this.
That's true.
This. I had a little solo show at the Firehouse, which was a little nervous for me.
Sure.
But, and I showed some things at the KCP Gallery because I'm a member there. And studio tour. Did studio tour last year, plan to do it again this year.
And that's something you wouldn't have done if you hadn't vowed to say yes.
That's true.
So this has been a great year for you. You were named Member Artist of the Year from the Firehouse, and that's where I first saw your work. And then you're a co-op member at KCP.
Yes.
And in addition to that, you volunteer at Arts Longmont. I don't know how you find time to do that and all of your art as well.
Yeah, well, I've decided I must not be doing retirement right because I am busy all the time.
You're so busy. That's so funny.
But it's all things that I choose, and I love it, so
that's
I'm
so
not
neat.
complaining.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, I'm really excited that people get a chance to meet you during Art Walk. And we have gone out into the community and found out about Art Walk, and we're going to take a little look at some of the exciting opportunities. Brandy Coombs is going to take us through it.
Great.
We're at Peak Paint and Wine in Longmont, and this is Brandy Coombs, and she's the Executive Director of Art Walk. Now, Brandy, what exactly is Art Walk?
Yeah, Art Walk is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that produces a series of cultural events here in downtown Longmont every summer.
But it's only summer.
Yes.
That's an important
It is.
thing.
It's a seasonally appropriate thing because a feature of the event is that almost 24 local businesses open their doors and invite people to kind of travel through. They bring in artists, and we put a lot of art and music into the streets downtown.
How
So
exciting.
we depend on the weather.
I bet you do. And the date?
And the date, this year it's May 20th and September 16th.
All right.
It's 4 to 8 p.m. And they're all ages events. We do face painting and caricatures and family-friendly interactive activities and that sort of thing.
And all free.
And all free, yes.
That's
free to attend.
exciting. Thank you for bringing some of those people here so that we can get to meet them as a preview.
Excellent, yes. I thought we should show rather than just tell. So we get to introduce you to several of our participating artists and a musician, Valerie.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Past the horizon and the old our studio is about having a place where people can come and be creative and make art and have a good time. And we really wanted to make a community art project.
Oh.
So we're going to do a huge Longmont vase of flowers.
Oh, what fun.
So we're going to have a huge canvas and paint a vase on it, and obviously it'll be a lot bigger than this.
Right.
And then we'll have everybody can make their own flowers, and then they can add it to the vase.
So how do they make a flower out of
So these are just paper plates,
Uh-huh.
and so there's like different sizes, and you can kind of paint them and then layer them. And here's one that I made.
Oh, that's so cute.
And so then everybody can create their own individual flower and add it to the vase.
So when you go to Art Walk, you can look for Dave Hartman, he was the arm painter, Diane Wood, who's wonderful in doing the pastels, Valerie Batt, and she's with Voodoo Julia, and she's performing, and Ann Noble with Peak Paint and Wine. Kathy, I am really excited that you're going to show us how you make an art doll. But tell us first, what's an art doll?
It's a little bit hard to describe, actually, because most people think of dolls, they think of baby dolls, something
Sure.
that's pretty and cute. But art dolls, at least in the way I look at it, is a doll that's created sometimes just for fun, but also sometimes just for a purpose. I have a doll making mentor and teacher named Barb Kobe from Minnesota who taught me about healing and transformative dolls, and that's what really got me started on this type of thing. But it's hard to describe, really. It's just something that sort of comes from the inside and comes out.
Now,
And
is
it's a
it
surprise.
healing for you or for the viewer?
Mostly for myself. For example, the doll in the very front there is named Rue. And I created her after the death of my nephew in a car accident because I just had all this feeling and I didn't have anywhere to put it. So in that sense, that was a personally healing doll for me.
Oh, that's neat.
The one behind it is a part of a medicine doll series that I made with Barb originally back in 2008, I think it was. And it's far too long of a story to go into here, but she's very special to me also.
There's a bit of spirituality in them.
Very much so, very much so. Sometimes, like I say, they're just for fun, but other times, almost always, there's some message that comes through the doll back to me.
How wonderful. A friend of yours is doing a book on this kind of doll making.
Yes.
And she asked you about the spirituality of your doll?
Well, we were discussing the idea of what is a spirit doll, and I was writing a little piece for her about that for that book, and I sat in my living room and looked all around and realized there were 21 sets of eyes looking back at me.
Oh my goodness.
In the living room, and ultimately I had to come to the belief that they're all spirit dolls. You know, which one of them did not have a spirit? Which one did not have some sense of a soul? You know, they all do in their own way. So that was my conclusion.
Well, show us how you make them.
Okay. Well, I usually start with the faces, but just so I can get these out of the way, I'm going to show you some bodies in process. This is a particular kind that's made with bundles of sticks. Then it's wrapped with
Felt or something?
well, it's quilt batting. Quilt batting. And the kinds that are hiding in the trees were made this way.
Is there a name for that, kind of a twig doll or something?
Well, as I learned it, that was called the spirit doll.
Oh,
but as I
I
said,
see.
you know, my interpretation of spirit doll goes far beyond that.
Oh, okay.
This is another one, a bigger one that I have in process. And it starts with the sticks also, but I wrap with foil and duct tape.
My husband will love that, a duct tape spirit doll.
Yes, and this one, originally I thought she was going to be, her head will go, I don't know what her head will be, but the head will go up here somewhere, and she'll be fully wrapped and clothed in some way or another.
Oh, neat.
And then the larger ones, well, are the ones like the Hatter here, or timekeeper who's standing over there, Earth Woman behind us, start with a wire armature of something like this.
You make all these yourself?
Oh, yeah.
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 Because where would you find wire armature for dolls? Right?
Actually, they do exist
Oh,
if
you're
you look
kidding.
online.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I do my own thing.
Okay.
So, but the place I normally begin are with the faces. And I brought some unfinished faces here. They have been baked. They're made out of a polymer clay. There's many kinds of polymer clay. This is one that I happen to particularly like, the Pro Sculpt or Living Doll Sculpey.
So you make these yourself?
Right.
You don't just buy these faces?
Right. Start with a wad of tin foil to give it a shape, and then just begin to slowly build it up. If things go really well and we're having a good communication, the doll and I, it may take about an hour and a half to make the flat faces like this, longer to make the full heads, like some of these other ones, considerably longer actually.
This one doesn't even have a nose yet.
No, this one, I did this to this point just so I could show you today. Start with a wad of clay here on the foil. Stick a couple of beads in for the eyes.
And those beads will stay in?
Yes, they'll
Okay.
stay there. It's just much easier to use a bead or either a pre-baked ball of clay rather than something soft, because you'll invariably squish the eyes if you don't have something that's already hard there.
Okay.
So, would you like me to
Oh,
work
put a-
on the other eyelaid there?
I would love that. That
Okay.
would be great.
Okay.
Because I'm feeling like it needs another eyelid.
It does. Yeah, well, first I just roll, first you have to work the clay because it's too stiff. Soften it up a little bit, roll it out to make the face to lay across here. Then eyelids. There's many different ways to do this, but this is the way that I learned, mostly from a book by Maureen Carlson on how to make clay faces. Just take a little ball and squeeze it into a little circle and slice it in half. So then, sorry, there's not a good way to show you this on TV, I'm afraid.
Oh, you're doing fine.
But you put the little half
Oh, I see.
moon
I
over
see,
there for the top
certainly.
eyelid, and a little half moon here for the lower eyelid.
And it will look like one of those little faces, won't it?
Eventually, this will be something like one of these. There's various tools. I have a whole bucket of tools at home, but
Of
these are the
course.
ones that I use almost exclusively, especially this little guy. This one, I just don't think I could do it without. But you begin by smoothing the edges in. So it hopefully looks seamless at some point. And sometimes I decide I want additional, like put another layer of an eyelid and an under eye because I want it to be a little puffier. Just depends. Next, I usually do the nose.
Well, good.
Gotta breathe.
Yeah.
And make some little shape, something like this. Sometimes I like great big noses, and sometimes I like fat noses. I like to go after characters as opposed to very realistic faces, partly due to my skill level, and partly because I just really do prefer the characters.
Oh, I love them too. I think that's one thing I love about your
Yeah.
art
So we've
doll.
got a little fat worm on there that will hopefully turn into a nose here. Again, just smoothing down the edges.
Sometimes do you sit at the art galleries when you're volunteering and just work on your faces?
I do.
That's good.
I do. That's the wonderful thing about like art sitting, especially at the firehouse. I always bring something to work on.
During Art Walk, I know you'll be there. Will you be doing some of these things?
Yes, this is exactly what I plan to do, is work on faces. It's very portable, so I can just pile everything into a little box and do my thing almost anywhere.
We're going to take a look at another adventure at Art Walk. Lindsay Carnuth has a different kind of an approach to art than any we've seen and that we will see at Art Walk. Tell us about what you're doing here with this painting.
So this is actually the bottom of a trunk. I tore it apart. I got a little bit of stress out of that and destroyed it, and am reworking it into a giant map of Longmont. It's called For the Love of Longmont. It's,
How perfect.
you know, yeah, that love-hate relationship with your hometown. Since I moved here in '85, so I'm as close to native as possible. Definitely love Longmont. And the original idea came from the idea of the 6 degrees of separation, that we're all connected somehow or know somebody. And the more I networked and did art in Longmont, I realized it's actually 1 to 2. I've changed that. It's 1 degree of separation. I will find a way that we probably know somebody in common.
So how are you using these? This is sort of like trash you've cut up.
Yeah, basically everything's kind of trash except for the Mod Podge, and the brush is probably the only thing. These currently are left-hand beer labels. Like these are good juju. I cut up for the grass, which a lot of these are actually magazines also. I totally got caught into a magazine scam, and they keep sending them to me, so I found another way to reuse stuff that I get. So yeah, slowly but surely. I did do all 3 art walks last year, so I was just in the street making this.
Wow.
The map I have is super old. It's probably from when I moved here in the 80s. But I was having people just mark wherever they lived. So if they were interested at all, I would make sure that they had like a little house to represent them on
Oh, how
the map.
fun. And this is Long's Peak and Meeker, is that
Yep,
right?
that'll be, Meeker, and then Long's Peak will be back here. This base, you probably won't even see by the time I'm done. There'll be so many layers, but I had to make sure I started putting the main things, like the river, obviously. This is airport, this is Maine, and it just, from there, so like Highway 66 will be here. This is Pike Road, so like Oscar Blues is about there. All of my favorite places.
Well, it truly is about the love of Longmont.
Yes.
Will children be able to help you put things on?
They can. What I'll probably end up applying for this year is having this in the background and then doing a totally different thing, where I might do like an outline and have them just patch in colors. It's super easy. It's obviously just a tiny piece of paper, so any paper will do. The best way to do it is super light coats the whole time. I end up putting it on the back and the front of the piece of paper, as well as the back and the front of the actual
And that's Mod Podge, is that what
Correct.
that is? Okay.
Yeah, just super simple, and it's super forgiving because it just slides its glue.
What do you like about Art Walk?
That's a great question. I've done artwork, I think, on and off since '05. Right after I graduated from art school, I ended up coming back and doing a show. I've been in the businesses and out of the businesses. I like the street way better. Way more interaction. It doesn't feel forced. People can stop if they want, or they can just not. I'm okay with that. I kind of want them to be curious, and if they're not, they'll find something else that's going to be curious down the street, because there's so much art going on. It's definitely, the kids and the adults all seem to be pretty fascinated with it, and that's my favorite, that the adults are still entertained by art is a big part of it, and they're bringing their kids to enjoy it as well.
Oh, nice. Well, I bet you'd like to invite everybody to come out and see you at Art
Of
Walk.
course, yeah, I love Longmont, obviously, and art walks, so it is one of my favorite things, is doing art in Longmont.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Lindsay Carmuth, and you'll get a chance to meet her if you come to Art Walk, which is May 21st in Longmont. Now, Kathy, how are you doing on our little face here?
Well, I've gotten a little further on the nose.
Oh, I like that nose. It's evolved.
Yes, I built up this eye a little more. Right now, these 2 eyes don't match very well, so in the tweaking process, I would continue to work on that. Normally, I don't give them the nostrils until the very last thing, but I just want to show you that because it's one of my favorite things to do.
Putting nostrils.
I mean, how often do you get to shove something up someone's nose?
Like, and you can pick your nose.
Yeah, so you just stick something up there where the nostril ought to be,
Oh, my
and
goodness.
just gently roll it around.
Oh, that is amazing. Look at this.
It changes the nose
becoming
so
a
much.
face. Yeah.
Mhm. The next step is generally the mouth, and just need to draw a little line across there.
Do you
Sort of
know
cut it
anything
open.
about this person, or does it just evolve?
It just evolves, and especially since she doesn't have a mouth yet, she isn't talking to me yet.
Oh, really?
So we need to get the mouth, and this is
Yeah.
why I normally do the faces first.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm not totally crazy. It doesn't mean that I'm actually hearing voices.
Well, you are an artist.
But they do speak to me
Oh,
in a
that's
sense, you know,
wonderful.
and sometimes I'm quite surprised by
Oh,
what comes out.
how neat.
Sometimes I think I'm making a male, and it turns out to be female, or the other way around.
Oh, my goodness.
You just never know. Anyway, when it comes to the mouth, then tear off another little piece of clay
Uh-huh.
and ball it up and turn it into another sort of a triangle. Again, there's many, some people will just make a little worm shape on there, but I kind of like doing the triangle. And place it
Right
there under the nose. And because most of our mouths do sort of bump out a little
Well,
bit
that's
here.
true.
So it bumps out.
I'm very interested also in the clothing on these dolls. You have to create it yourself because you can't go out and buy something like that.
Right, there's no pattern for this, and that's the hardest part for me, actually. I can sew, but to make something fit appropriately is a challenge for me.
Right.
It's always a challenge, and it's something that I would, again, like to continue to get better at, work more on. I'm a little bit limited.
I love the piece that you did. It had something to do with honey.
Oh, yes. This last summer, excuse me, for the Fresh fundraiser that benefited the firehouse and Arts Longmont, collaborated with two other artists, Georgia Anderson, who is the beekeeper, and also David Bailey, who's the poet.
Oh, yeah.
And we shared ideas, and I came up with the bee goddess, who we named Neith, in honor of an ancient Roman bee goddess.
Oh, look, I see it's turning
Okay.
into a mouth. Now you're
So,
making
yeah.
a little chin.
So yeah, the chin and the lower lip kind of come together here. And again, smooth it out.
This is kind of a good lesson in sort of anatomy, knowing.
Yes.
I mean, I never thought about the fact that your lip comes out, and you know.
Well, I didn't either, and some of my earlier dolls didn't do that so
I
much.
see.
It's a learning process.
I
It's a
know.
forever learning process.
that's
I hope
wonderful.
that I'll continue to get better at it forever. We also need to make a little line down there because
Right,
we have
because
that
we
little
do have
line.
that, yeah.
And to get the lips to form up, just gently kind of brush them up. So there's one side that's
That is
brushed up.
so neat. Your next step would be to fire this, is that right?
After I was completed, yes. Only it's not really a firing in the sense that you think of because it only has to bake for 15 minutes per quarter inch of thickness at 275 degrees.
You mean you can actually do it in your oven?
You can, although I have a little dedicated oven for it because
That's nice.
there is some concern that there could be toxins in the clay that would get into the oven, and then you wouldn't want that to bake
No.
back into your food.
No, you
so
would not.
I have a little glass oven that I have down in the basement, a little convection oven.
And how do you make, I know you paint it. Is there a special, you fire it before you paint it, obviously,
yes.
and that's what some of these are.
Yes. Yeah, these are ready for paint. These faces are all
And
ready.
you've fired all those in your little dedicated oven.
Right.
That's so fun.
Yeah. Of course, many people are going to have different ways that they
Sure.
choose to paint
Yeah.
it. What I prefer to do is I paint almost every face totally black to begin with, and then build up successively lighter colors until I have the color that the doll wants.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah,
That's
with Earth Woman behind me, I wanted her to be the color of Earth.
right.
So she stayed dark, and then others are very white. Some of the more clown-like dolls I like to have pretty white faces, but almost all of them, even the ones that are virtually white on top, begin with the black.
That's interesting. Some people say that's the way we evolved. It could be interesting. And the hair, well, how do you do the hair?
Oh, that varies tremendously.
It's a little wool looking.
Yeah, those are wool. Katori, the spirit horse here, is actually the mane of a real horse.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times I use yarn. Sometimes just fabric strips.
We're excited that you also brought some one-dimensional art, is that what you say? Some paintings. And both of these paintings are Kathy Hall's paintings, and I love them. Is that something you were doing before the art dolls, or are you doing it?
It's something I do very little of, but it's something, again, I want to get better at and want to do more of. These two were based on a process by an artist named Jane Spakowski, and I did an online class of hers.
Oh, how neat.
Where she built up the layers of collage. I also do collages.
Yeah, I've seen your
And
collages, and I love them.
I saw I just liked her style, so I thought, I'm going to give that a try. And these are the only two I've actually done, but I hope to do more.
Well, they're very, very wonderful. Well, I'm so pleased that you're going to be at Art Walk, and people can come to Arts Longmont and see you?
Yes, that's the
So
plan.
if people don't know, Arts Longmont is on Main Street between 3rd and 4th,
Yes.
I believe, and you can just go right in. One of the things that Brandy stressed is go into the places at Art Walk. Don't be afraid to walk in. Everything's free. You can come and meet Kathy, you can see the dolls, you can see these little wonderful spirit faces and her art. And that's true of the artists who'll be all over Art Walk in Longmont. And that, again, is May 21st. So don't be afraid to come, and in fact, you should. Art Walk in Longmont. We're going to close out the show with some more music and some more reminders that you will have fun at Art Walk. Kathy, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
it.
I enjoyed it.
Let's see your little face now.
Well, needs a lot more work still.
I love it.
Yeah, we'll build up a fourth.
Stays just down the road. Just why he don't laugh, I never will know. He don't ask for nothing. He don't make a sound. We pretend to forget, but he won't live it down. In this West Texas town. You're what keeps me tied down. You're what keeps me here. Skies in your reflection. Everything's so clear here. In the back of the pickup, we can stare at the clouds. Sure, we may be in love, but I can't stick around in this West Texas town.